Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters video. Well, I thought I would give another great surprise for all of you fans here and do another series of the Cryptids and Monsters videos. I had just wrapped one up before I went on my trip a couple of weeks, at least the videos a couple of weeks back, but I thought to myself, y'all are doing so good when it comes to continuing to watch my videos, and who knows how the stuff promotes itself, but still I have new subscribers all the time, so I wanted to go ahead and do yet another series rather than go through the ghosts and spirits, urban legends, and the others that I do as well, as a nice thank you. But this time with a little twist. Instead of asking for new suggestions, this time I went throughout all my past suggestion videos and I'm handpicking the ones that I still have not talked about. So again, as a nice thank you to everyone out there, and I've gone ahead and I've done I'm going back to about maybe 2 years or so of suggestions, so be on the lookout for the next maybe 4 videos or so after this one, all again based on your past suggestions. This one was suggested over 2 years ago. Has to do with a monster that is still very similar to some of the Bigfoots that I've talked about in the past. The key difference though is how it looks, because it seems to be like a cousin of some sort when it comes to the Bigfoot. It may not even be a Bigfoot at all. And then also its most distinct feature, which has to do with its odor. And I'm talking about the monster, the legend known as Momo the Monster, which you're looking at a picture of here. How it got that, I guess, like that distinct look, I have no idea, because when you think of your average Bigfoot, you're thinking of something that looks humanoid, but at the same time they have a universal feature. Like they have large sloping foreheads, they might have more of a man-like feature, human-like feature, at least when it comes to the face. Here you'll see that it's completely different. It's like an alien creature of some sort that just happens to be humanoid with the rest of its body, and then it has some traits on the Bigfoot side. In fact, when it comes to its head, it's been described as being pumpkin-shaped head rather than the elongated forehead that I just mentioned with some of the other Bigfoot or Yeti type monsters. Its body, it is completely furry. I mean, we're talking like matted hair, just completely furry, far more again than what you would expect from your average Bigfoot. So much so that one of its distinct features on its face happens to be that its hair completely covers its eyes. Think of that dog, I don't know exactly the breed of it, but the one that always has its fur covering the top of its eyes, and you're wondering how it's able to get around. Well, very same concept, but here you're dealing with a humanoid-like monster, Momo the Monster, that has its eyes covered by its hair. Also, another key distinct feature is its footprints. Its footprints, rather than having, let's say, the standard Bigfoot footprints, which are larger humanoid footprints with the 5 toes, apparently they seem to have lesser toes, and then sometimes even web-like features between them. All of this comes though from casts that have been made, or drawings that have been made of the casts themselves, so it's no real proof yet if that's truly them, but it seems to resemble more of, I think I read somewhere, of the spider monkey, if I'm correct, with regards to how the foot looks like. It's a large foot nonetheless, but it does not have, at least based on some of the trackings done, the usual 5 digits, 5 toes on its foot. So how did it get the name Momo? Well, it actually stands for short for Missouri Monster, and the reason for this is because, just like it's the name it derives from, it is reported to live right there in Missouri. So those of you fans that happen to be near Louisiana, maybe even Missouri, you do have or the parts of Missouri, you do have this legend somewhere around there. If you see a large 7-foot creature with black matted hair, very very thick fur, and then also those distinct footprints, then guess what? You're in luck. You happen to have this local legend permeating that area. It hasn't been around for too long though, because the earliest known sightings seems to start around 1970 or so, and then they continue up until the 2000s. I'll highlight some of those here in a minute. But as I mentioned at the very beginning the most absolute distinct feature happens to be with its odor. Apparently, people that have come across this creature, this Momo the Monster, they reported stating there was a tremendous odor, a really, really terrible odor. No description on really like what it smells like if it smells like, let's say, putrid garbage, or if it smells more like, let's say, rotted meat, or anything else that just stands out in a horrible manner. But people have stated that they know they're definitely in the presence of the Momo monster whenever they smell it first, and then they start hearing like something large or lumbering nearby their area. So again, if you happen to be near, let's say, Louisiana or other parts of Missouri, or in this case the Mississippi River, which is another known documented place where this thing roams, and you smell something so putrid, so absolutely terrible, obviously nothing like you would expect to smell there in nature, then yes, you do happen to have a Momo monster nearby your location. Now, as far as some of the sightings and where this thing seems to have been found, there's a multitude of them. Seems like the earliest known sighting is in the early 1971. And by the way, all these sightings, there seems to not be anything indicating that this thing, whatever it is bad towards humans per se. Like, it doesn't seem to attack them, or it doesn't seem to chase them away. Instead, it seems like it's just minding its own business, and humans happen to come across it, and then that's when they see it. But yes, the earliest known sighting, 1971, that's when some picnickers reported seeing whatever this thing was come out of some of the nearby woods. One of the more well-known sightings cut to a couple of years later, 1978, and there was a set of, I guess, younger children. They saw a creature which they reported to be about 7 foot tall, and this time though it was carrying a dead dog. It was actually carrying it as if it was eating it or taking it somewhere to be eaten. They saw it near a tree near their yard. That's another thing, by the way, too. If that you'll know you'll be in the presence of Momo the Monster. Seems to favor wildlife, and then also pets. So if you start seeing, in this case, dogs, or a reported number of dogs in your area there that happen to be disappearing, and then sometimes found dead, mauled to death, or sometimes no trace of them at all, then that's another distinct feature because it seems to have a delicacy towards them. 1982 got to another incident, and this happened to be with a police officer. This guy stated that he heard growls and screams somewhere near an area. I don't know exactly where it was, but whenever he went to try to find out where it was, like, just keeping track of it and seeing if there was anything he could do about it, that's when he found these quote-unquote unidentifiable hair fibers near that area where he heard those growls and screams. So no idea of what caused it necessarily, but that's where he saw those strange hair fibers there. There was another incident. We cut to the 1990s, over several days, in fact, from July 20th to the 22nd. One set of people, witnesses, they described that smell. This time, though, they did put in more specific description. They stated that it smelled like something like a rotting flesh. That was their description. And then cut to the next day, July 21st, and the creature was seen by someone named Ellis Minor about 20 feet away. He actually shined a flashlight across it. That's when he saw that dark black hair that I described earlier, that really, really shaggy hair with no eyes visible because it was covering its face completely. Instead of the creature doing anything towards this poor guy, instead, having been noticed, it quote-unquote whirled around and then just ran away. So again, it adds credence to what I mentioned earlier, that this creature just seems to be minding its own business, completely passive when it comes to encountering creatures. And then finally, on the 22nd, that's when some of the tracks were found, and then a cast was made of those tracks, which showcased some of that information, like the 3 digits and then the webbing on its toes. Seems like the last known sighting was in 2003, so not too far back. It happened to do with couple Bill and Betty Sudarf. That's when they heard some kind of really high-pitched howl from the front yard of their house. Obviously not anything resembling something they would recognize either from a dog or some kind of other wildlife. Instead, it was something completely different. And then they were able to also find tracks nearby their area, but these tracks abruptly ended shortly after the center of their yard slash garden. So they found the tracks there, they were leading them somewhere, and then they just completely stopped right there in midair, like there was nothing afterward. And it gives you the sense that whatever this thing was doing, it might have leaped or jumped or who knows, done something else to completely get away from that area without leaving tracks. So very, very fascinating stuff. So what do you guys think? Momo the Monster, a creature of some sort, Bigfoot-like creature, if it is truly a Bigfoot, that still roams apparently these days there in Missouri. If anyone happens to be nearby that area, knows any more information, knows any more tales, especially more current encounters, that would be really awesome to hear too. So, alright everybody, thanks again as always. Take care.